Please tell us how you first came to Ramana Ashramam. My chosen deity in childhood was Lord Krishna. From my youth, I had a very pleasant dream and would sometimes see Lord Krishna or other familiar deities in these dreams. But at the age of 16 or 17, I once saw a strange sage-like person coming down a hill and was captivated by his grandeur. I later came to realize that this sage was Sri Bhagavan. After having that vision of Bhagavan in my dream, a certain fear that had gripped me for some time all of a sudden disappeared. My relatives and others noticed this and commented how I was now moving about freely. This was Bhagavan's first influence on me. Also around this time at 16, I was reading the Jnana Vasishta. While reading it, I experienced that I was enveloped in a yoti, a bright white light. I thought that if this is what happens just by reading it, how much more wonderful would it be if we practiced jhana, true meditation, and other spiritual injunctions which were taught in the book. I used to be thrilled simply by reading those ancient Tamil scriptures, but it wasn't until I was 20 before I got hold of a book on Bhagavan. Kumaraswamy Raja, the chief minister of Madras, who was a cousin of mine, brought me Bharati's biography of Bhagavan, the Ramana Vijayam. This was 1946. Mrs. Kumaraswamy Raja was very fond of me, and though other relatives prohibited me from reading spiritual books, she used to stealthily supply me with them. The day she sent this book over with a boy, I was sitting in a house with a friend, a headmistress, who, though Christian, was sincerely interested in our Hindu religion. The boy who brought the book said, "Mammy said to hand this book to you." I got up and went to the gate to receive it. The moment I touched the book, I lost body consciousness. My whole body became stiff. I somehow managed to return and sit next to my friend. Noticing my plight, she commented that I shouldn't read such books that make me forget myself. Everyone was complaining about this same thing, for in those days, most of the time, I would be sitting quietly, alert to my spiritual aspirations. All thought that I was simply idle with no work to do. With difficulty, I opened the Ramana Vijayam to the first page and was met by a photo of the young Ramana. I became speechless. My friend, who was somewhat alarmed at my condition, had to leave, and I somehow saw her off. With great reverence, I took the book and started reading it. As I read, my eyes kept closing involuntarily, and I was drawn within, which I later came to know was meditation. This is how Bhagavan taught me meditation. After reading this book, I felt I should leave home and go meet Ramana Maharshi. It is my family custom that when women never even leave the house, not to mention leaving the town, that vairagya, that dispassion, or desperate determination to leave my house for spiritual fulfillment, was implanted to me by this book, and I am sure it was by the direct influence of Sri Bhagavan himself. Because of my intense desire to go and see Bhagavan, my younger brother was moved to help me. He is a very pious man with a soft nature. With his help, I secretly left home and reached Tiruvannamalai and the holy feet of Sri Bhagavan. But after reaching there, I was overcome with a sense of guilt for running away from home. This feeling of guilt and a sense of bringing ill fame to the respected Rajapalayam family was uppermost in my mind when I first came into Bhagavan's presence, and I felt depressed because of this. When I arrived, I went to the office to inquire where Bhagavan was. I was told that Bhagavan was near the well. When I came near the well, I saw a thatched shed next to it, and all I could see in it was a flaming fire. I thought to myself, I asked for directions to go to Bhagavan, and they have sent me to a sacrificial place where there is a fire. It was only after a few minutes I saw Bhagavan his form emerge from those flames. Even when I had the Yoti Darshana, I was blaming myself, thinking that I had this delusion of seeing a fire instead of Bhagavan because I was foolish enough to come out in the hot sun. But it was only afterwards I realized Bhagavan had bestowed upon me this great boon of Yoti Darshana. Next I heard Bhagavan saying to me, "You have now come. Why don't you sit down?" Coming from a family where women never go out, and having never gone out myself, I did not know how to behave in company. And so when Bhagavan said, "You have now come home, you can sit down," I sat down right in front of him, and not in the place reserved for women. For 3 days I kept sitting in front of him, and all the while the feeling of guilt for running away from home was haunting me. I kept sitting in front of Bhagavan, not knowing how to act or ask questions or anything else. On the 3rd day, I heard Bhagavan telling someone, "I also ran away from my home, and at the railway station I was so frightened that anyone could have identified me as a runaway, caught hold of me, and sent me home. I ran away like a thief." When Bhagavan narrated this, it completely wiped out all my guilt feelings from that moment onwards. This was an act of pure grace directed towards me. It is very strange that by those few words, Bhagavan entirely removed any residual fear in me. Bhagavan later said that sometimes you have to do a wrong thing to achieve the ultimate right thing. He even commented that there is nothing wrong in a woman running away at the tender age of 20 to come here.